A pleasure, it's me all at last, and welcome back once again to HJN Super Graphics. For this instance, I'm going to go ahead and take a bit of a look at a certain duology that we've had since 2020. Basically, for those who are familiar with the early pieces of the mid to late 2000s, and more importantly, for those of you who might have been familiar with the PlayStation 2 era and Nintendo Wii era of games, I'm going to talk a bit about Destroy All Humans. Yeah, this was basically a parody of post-World War II alien invasions BS, especially with the stories going on of good old Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. But of course, Destroy All Humans 2020 in particular is what I'll be talking about. Although, just for old time's sake, I'll talk a bit about the franchise as it stands today. Destroy All Humans is a series of action-adventure games with some open-world explorations about a certain comedic and southern-type alien known as Cryptosporidium 137. He is sent down to Earth to replace Cryptosporidium 136, whom supposedly had gone missing as of 1947, likely interconnecting with the real-life event of Roswell, New Mexico. But in all seriousness, Orthopox 13, the boss of Crypto 137, supposedly does have a few heated arguments with him. Even when he makes his way down to Earth, he gives out his orders, and Crypto basically follows in every which way. From an invasion comprised of cows and a simple farming massacre gone wrong, to a number of other problems that initiate, and even the involvement of a nuke. Yeah, who would have thought? Crypto and a nuke. They'd be an unstoppable force. Anyways, though, in terms of the franchise as it stands, there were a total of 4 different developers that had developed the games between 2005 and the present day. There was Pandemic Studios, which originally made the duology from 2005 and 2006. Locomotive Games developed Big Willie Unleashed for the Nintendo Wii, and there was also Sandblast Games. Black Forest Games, however, is our most recent contender, being that they were developing the recent Destroy All Humans 2020, as well as Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed for 2023. All of the games, however, were published originally by THQ, nowadays known as THQ Nordic, as of 2020. But of course, there were a lot of platforms involved. I mean, you had the PS2, Xbox 2001, the Nintendo Wii, PS3, Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Xbox Scarlet, Microsoft Windows, Google Stadia, and even the Nintendo Switch. So, I feel like this stands as it is, and I'm more than ready to go with the remake. So, much like what I've already explained about how the first game went down, the game itself takes place in the year 1959. It essentially is a point in time where Cryptosporidium 137 originally touches down on Earth, of which that his main goal is to harvest human DNA. As you probably know by now, while this is a third-person game with action-adventure as well as some exploration tactics in mind, the main thing that he is equipped with is the Zap-O-Matic. It's essentially like a taser on crack. The Zap-O-Matic, of course, is capable of zapping everything until they die, and then the main pickups in the game are, of course, human DNA. The DNA itself acts like the primary currency in the game itself, although you can also pick up various other things as well. These upgrades in particular that are made possible by collecting DNA as well as other things can in fact be used as a means to develop new skills, unlock new costumes, and even upgrade your weapons in various ways. There was also the addition of saucer upgrades, since let's remember, it was stereotypical by today's standards, but back then, UFOs were pictured in a very certain way and depicted in many films and other such media over the years in a very specific design. The UFO, or unidentified flying object, basically became the official pseudonym for that of alien spacecraft that had been depicted in various media. And as such, the saucer, as it's claimed in this game, however, as well as the sequel, Reprobed, which came out 3 years later, is Crypto's official transportation that he uses to get around. At first, it goes on a certain farmland, which that it's basically meant as a test for the players in mind, including myself. I, of course, had my first appearances with the game itself by being guided by Orthopox 13 in order to better understand how Crypto works and how his weapons work. And of course, how the weapons on the saucer work as well. By starting off by zapping cows, then zapping people, and then getting up into the saucer and blowing up police cars, it was quite clear that this was definitely going to be one of those games where it was not just about any alien invader, but a guy named Crypto. He was pretty cocky, he was pretty energetic, and he certainly had a lot of cracks and puns to yuck things up, especially with his southern accent. And of course, the somewhat Starscream sound-alike with Orthopox 13 going hand in hand with their conversations back and forth, as Crypto basically carries around his certain holopod that follows him around. And that basically acts like his own telecommunications device, to which how he can interact with Orthopox himself all the way up in the atmosphere. Who's up in the mothership, mind you that. Of course, we certainly can't forget to mention that one unique thing about the game itself is what happens when you die. Of course, with most games, it pretty much is just the standard fare of continuing from where you left off or picking up from your most recent save or checkpoint. But in Destroy All Humans, as well as the sequel to this reboot in 2020, Cryptosporidium is essentially remanifested by Orthopox 13 and then re-delivered to Earth to pick up from where he left off. So, despite the fact that he is Cryptosporidium 137, the fact is that the many times that the players would die, could it really make sense? Is the official 137 going to continue reappearing and whatnot after all the times that he was killed by the military or whatnot? Or is it going to be Cryptosporidium 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, etc.? This is one of those main points in the game's plot that I might as well start questioning at this point. How exactly does it work? Cryptosporidium 136 basically brought upon the certain Roswell story in 1947 as the official plot in this game pulls out, and then 12 years later we have 137. So the time that he dies, how is there no Cryptosporidium 138 and whatnot? Who really knows? Anyways though, 137 does follow through with Orthopox's orders, and after the training session is complete, there's basically a number of different things that took place. The storyline itself does allow for us to eventually take a hold of humans by disguising ourselves via telepathy. Yeah, telepathic communication is apparently how he is able to swap bodies with people. And keep in mind, these human disguises can only last for so long because telepathy is only so strong, and Cryptosporidium himself is only so well equipped in this situation. But of course, the main reason why we do this sort of body swap technique is so we can infiltrate certain areas, including military bases, and even taking control of the mayor. Yeah, basically, there was a part of the game that's essential here where we have to infiltrate a certain mayoral meeting with the townspeople. Yeah, because the townspeople apparently are scared, thinking that there's an alien around, and they want to do whatever with it. Yeah, it's one of those things where in the history of politics, it's nice that they were able to showcase the many different opinions and outlooks by the people involved, but really, why does it have to be politics of all things? I mean, just the fact that you have an alien invading Earth, why would he need to get involved in a certain array of politics? I guess it's just for the fact that he's hoping to have some good information to provide to Orthopox 13 at the end of the day. Who really knows? Anyways, though, After that point goes by, we eventually are treated to some other incredible stuff. I mean, there's more body swapping going on, as well as more action where we get to take out humans and collect their DNA. Not to mention, the weapon variety seems to increase more so than ever. I mean, it's not just the Zap-O-Matic that you have to work with in this game, nor in the sequel, mind you that, but we'll get to that one tomorrow. In any case, though, there are other devices that you get to take place as well. There's the anal probe, for instance, which does allow for you to directly harvest DNA out of people themselves. Like I said, though, this game technically does provide a bit of a sexual innuendo at the same time that it delivers in its comedy. It's one of those pieces of media in mind that not only happens to make sex jokes straight out of media like Easy A, for instance, but it also does give us the more comedic approach to that of something that goes way beyond what most of us would normally expect. I mean, sure, would an alien invader actually want to be all that cracked up? Anyways, though, I will say that in the storyline, probably the best part is the fact that you infiltrate a series of military bases and drive their vehicles around, only to get up close and personal with a nuke. Yeah, in 1959, I bet you didn't know, there were tons of different nuclear weapons and devices that were manufactured and brought out for testing, especially out in the deserts. Areas like Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas were heavily infiltrated and also heavily used as bomb sites. Yeah, the supposed Nuketown cliche had also been made popular in the likes of Call of Duty Black Ops, as well as their sequels, especially with the more recent ones. But it also made famous because of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, mainly because, well, that also took place in the mid-1950s. But Destroy All Humans itself took place a few years after that point, so it was fair to say that even after Roswell took place, and especially after the Trinity sites where good old Oppenheimer was up and about, the man who technically invented the nuke, yeah, it's fair to say, fissionable materials aside, that nukes were amongst great usage throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., especially up until the Geneva Chemical Weapons Convention took place. Yeah, it was one of the last straws that people needed to understand that nukes were a thing that should have never been invented. But yet, there's not much we can do about it. Anyways, though, you really gotta see this game to believe it. And I will say that unfortunately I haven't gotten that much further into the game after blowing up the nuke and basically getting a lot of attention from the likes of higher officers in the US government as well as other sources. But still, you really gotta keep in mind here, this is just one of those games that really makes you see things differently. This is the kind of history that you'd have to learn about. The idea of aliens invading Earth, the idea of nuclear weapons, the idea of the Soviet Union already becoming more than just a piece of mind to the United States itself. Think about it. It's a triple threat. You got Russia, you got nukes, and you got alien invaders. So, what exactly might come out of all of those things? Well, unfortunately we didn't get none of which in real life. Kind of ironic when you think about it. There wasn't really much of the idea of nuclear weapons being tested against the states from the country of Russia, nor was there much of them at all, apart from the supposed Tsar Bomba, which itself was deemed as the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created by humans. And then of course there was that famous 1961 test film with an actual Tsar Bomba being blown up. Anyways though, all of that aside, this itself was a really good game. But just wait until I have the sequel in mind for tomorrow. There's a lot more that I will have to say about Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. But for this game, 2020 was a good year for gaming. It'll always be a memorable year for a number of things. But Destroy All Humans Reboot, as I most likely will refer to this game itself, is a good game for a lot of different reasons. And I sure will recommend anybody to pick up a copy of this, or at least get it while it could be free on PlayStation Plus, because the results will be a lot of mind blows. The plot itself, the colorful graphics, the animation, the unique comedy and sexual innuendos that you find every which way, the possession of humans via telepathy, the anal probe. Yeah. There's a lot to this game that I could talk about for a long time, but I only have so much time to dish out for these kind of things anyways. And so, stay tuned tomorrow for the sequel, and always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.